Why Frieren is the deepest anime about mortality. I thought I understood death until I watched an elf cry over a hamburger. That single moment in Frieren, beyond Journey's End, shattered everything I believed about time, relationships, and what it truly means to be alive. What started as a simple fantasy anime about a mage's journey became the most profound meditation on mortality I've ever encountered in any medium. Most stories about immortality focus on the curse of living forever. Frieren does something far more devastating. It shows us the curse of loving people who don't. The genius of Frieren lies not in its magic system or stunning animation, but in how it weaponizes time itself against our emotions. When we first meet Frieren, she's saying goodbye to her human companions after defeating the Demon King. To her, this 10-year adventure was barely a blink, equivalent to a human spending a weekend with friends. But for Himmel, Eisen, and Heider, it was the defining decade of their lives. This isn't just clever world building, it's a masterclass in perspective that forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. We're all living on borrowed time, and most of us are terrible at recognizing what actually matters. Think about your own life for a moment. How many people have drifted away simply because you thought you'd reconnect someday? How many experiences have you postponed, assuming time was infinite? Frieren holds up a mirror to our own mortality, and the reflection is both beautiful and terrifying. The anime's approach to grief is unlike anything I've seen. When Himmel dies, Frieren doesn't collapse into dramatic sobs. Instead, she experiences something far more relatable and heartbreaking: the slow realization of loss. She stands at his grave, not crying, but finally understanding that this person who was just a friend actually meant everything to her. The weight of missed opportunities, unspoken words, and taken-for-granted moments crashes down with the force of 1,000 years of regret. But here's where Frieren transcends typical grief narratives. Most stories about loss focus on the pain of absence. Frieren focuses on the beauty of presence, how the simplest moments with someone can become treasures that sustain us through eternity. Remember the hamburger scene? Frieren tastes a hamburger that Himmel once enjoyed and breaks down crying. Not because it's particularly delicious, but because it's a connection to someone who's gone. This isn't just about food. It's about how the mundane becomes sacred when filtered through love and loss. Every shared meal, every casual conversation, every moment of comfortable silence suddenly reveals its true value when viewed through the lens of mortality. The anime doesn't stop at individual loss. It explores how entire civilizations rise and fall while Frieren remains constant. She watches languages evolve, kingdoms crumble, and traditions fade into legend. She becomes a living archive of lost worlds, carrying the weight of collective memory. This speaks to something profound about human legacy, how we are all part of something larger than ourselves, temporary custodians of culture and knowledge that will outlive us. What makes this exploration of mortality so powerful is how it avoids the typical fantasy escape route. Frieren can't simply resurrect her friends or turn back time. Magic, for all its power, cannot solve the fundamental human condition. This limitation forces both Frieren and the audience to confront loss honestly, without the comfort of fantastical solutions. The series also masterfully explores how different lifespans create different relationships with time. Humans rush through life, driven by urgency and passion. Elves drift through existence, assuming infinite tomorrows. Dwarves fall somewhere between, outliving humans but not immune to time's passage. Each race's relationship with mortality shapes their values, their urgency, their capacity for love and loss. This isn't just world building. It's a meditation on how awareness of death shapes life. Humans create art, build monuments, and love fiercely precisely because we know our time is limited. Immortals like Frieren must learn to love despite knowing they'll lose everyone they care about. The question becomes, is it better to love deeply and lose, or to remain distant and preserve yourself from pain? Frieren's answer is unequivocal. Love is worth the pain. But this lesson comes at a cost that spans centuries. The anime's visual storytelling reinforces these themes brilliantly. Time passes not just in dramatic time skips, but in subtle details. The way Frieren's hair grows longer, how locations change gradually, how technology advances almost imperceptibly. These visual cues create a sense of time's passage that's both beautiful and melancholy. Perhaps most importantly, Frieren forces us to examine our own relationships with time and mortality. When Frieren decides to truly know her former companions, to understand their dreams, their fears, their humanity, she's making a choice we all face daily. Do we really see the people in our lives, or do we assume they'll always be there? The series suggests that immortality isn't about living forever. It's about making each moment count. Frieren's journey from detached observer to engaged participant in life shows us that mortality isn't something to fear, but something that gives life meaning. The knowledge that our time is limited makes every connection precious, every experience valuable, every moment sacred. This is why Frieren resonates so deeply. It's not really about elves and magic. It's about recognizing the magic in ordinary moments before they become memories. It's about understanding that we're all mortal, all temporary, all infinitely precious because of our fragility. The anime doesn't offer easy answers or comforting platitudes. Instead, it presents mortality as both life's greatest tragedy and its greatest gift. The fact that we will lose everyone we love makes loving them an act of courage. The fact that our time is limited makes choosing how to spend it an act of wisdom. In the end, Frieren teaches us that death gives life meaning, loss gives love weight, and time gives relationships urgency. The deepest truths about mortality aren't found in philosophical treatises or religious texts. They are found in the simple act of sharing a meal with someone you care about, knowing that someday, even the memory of that meal will be all you have left. That's why Frieren is more than just an anime about an immortal elf. It's a profound meditation on what it means to be human, to love, to lose, and to find meaning in the brief, beautiful moments we're given. It reminds us that mortality isn't a bug in the human experience. It's the feature that makes everything else possible. The question isn't whether you'll watch Frieren. The question is whether you're ready to confront what it has to teach you about your own precious, limited, extraordinary life.